Hi everyone, welcome to new video. In this video basically I'm going to show you how the state management, that is a provider, and also Hive can be used together. So as a beginner you might be familiar using a set state, but if you see one drawback in the set state is it is maybe used it for simple apps, not for a complex, because managing states is very important. You can't keep all your data things in the main screen. You have to separate that from the UI, and also it rebuilds the whole thing that we don't want. So basically we fall back to something good, like a provider is also better. In the last video I have explained about the provider. If you have not watched, I recommend you to go and watch that video because it makes you super simple to understand the concept. And also I have made a video on the Hive. This is a local storage. So in this video we are converting this whole code. Basically I have built this simple UI. It's just adding the guest name. Okay, it's just adding the list of names, which is made using a set state. It's a local state management to the provider. I mean, you're using a state management as a provider and also Hive, that is a local storage, to do this. Okay, first I'll explain the program whatever I have written. So first we have this app which is rendering my app state, which is nothing but a material app, and we made this debug show check banner false because using in the development stage it will be true, but I've just made it false. Then for theme we have given a deep, we can just remove if we don't want, it's nothing wrong. Then we have rendering an home page. So this is the home page that we are rendering, and it is a stateful widget. I hope you guys know difference between stateful widget and stateless widget. Stateful widget, which it can rebuild whenever there's a change in data. Okay, and also using stateful widget whenever you want to handle a data management, like if you want to use set state and all, we have to use a stateful widget. Stateless widget, most of the time we use it for the UI because we don't want to build that things again and again. We use stateful widget when we want to keep a data where it usually change a lot of time because of user interaction or something. Okay, so let's get into the code. We have two important variables. One is a text edit control, that is a controller. The reason I have created this variable is because whenever I'll show you how app works. It's just you enter the name. Let's say let me enter my name, and if I click enter, it automatically clears this checkbox, right? So this is being controlled by the text editing control. So I've created a variable and I've called that constructor, and I have set that to the text field. So whenever the name is added to the list, I will clear the input. This is what I meant. Okay, the one variable that is for controlling the text field, and second one is a list variable. Why did I keep this list? Is basically taking a list of string, that is nothing but here I have just kept it as a guest name. You're just listing all your guest name for your function or something. It's just like a to do. Okay, so inside this cal fold I have this app bar which has a name. I have given a title called state management plus Hive. I can even write provider, which is nothing but I'm specifically using provider. Okay, then let's save, so it will get saved. The next thing is I have the column. In the column I have two important things. One is an text field you are seeing up here. Another one is an expanded text list. Okay, text field is basically what it is doing is whenever you write an value, whenever you write value and when you submit it, you are just adding that value to the guest list. Guest list is a array. So how do we add array? Here is nothing but an list. Okay, it's in JavaScript it is called as array. It is basically list in the Flutter. So how do we add a value to list is by using a method add, and you are trying to add this string. Whatever you type here will be added to this empty array. When it starts, it will be empty. The moment when you click on after entering, when you click on enter, it will be added to that list, and after that it will be, the input will be cleared with that variable called controller. Clear? Then we have a second most, and there's a little decoration I have did. You don't have to worry about it. Next is an expand widget. It is taking a list view. Why it is list view? Because we don't know how long the list can be. It can be scrollable, right? So that's why we use a widget list view. Inside this list tile, we made this as a loop. Okay, guest list is nothing but a list basically, and it expects the list also. See, if you could see, it is expecting list widget, and we are also giving a list. So we are mapping it, and each time each element will be inside this text. Okay, I hope it is clear. We are doing a small to do kind of list where you are adding the guest, and how we are doing is we are achieving it using the set state. The one of the disadvantage of set, as I mentioned, when there's a change, let's add one more thing. Let's add a new name called, let it be Ajay or something. When I click enter, there's a lot of space, I know. We'll just ignore it for now, because and also there's a lot of space because we have not told if there is no value, we have to ignore it. We have to mention that since there's no nothing condition is maintained, that's why it is throwing like this. Fine, it is. So okay, what I was telling, yeah, the moment when I click here, when there's a change in a UI, you can see just like everything will be changing. Okay, using set state, you're mixing your data with the UI. We don't want to do that. We want to keep a UI separately from the data. Okay, so we are, instead of using this set state, we want to change from set state to provider. So what is the first step we'll do? First, make sure you are installed this provider, and we already have imported this. Let's remove this. Instead of keeping everything here, let's create a new Dart file. Let's name it as a guest provider. Make sure you import it and come here, write a class. We all know what is a provider. It's just a class which extends the change notifier. So class with the name guest provider, okay, which extends from the change notifier. So we are successfully created the data that we wanted. So after this, what we want to store is, we want to store a list of string. Right now it is in the main screen. We are just separating it, and we are keeping separately, and we are putting that in the provider. Okay, let's name that as a guest list, and let it be an empty thing. Okay, come back in the home screen. Let's remove that variable that I have created here. Let's remove this, which will throw error here. And we have this one more method that is like adding the value, right? So let's come back here and let's create one more method here. Let that be add guest list. Okay, what this method is, it basically takes a string that is nothing but a value. It takes a guest name. Okay, and what we have to do is we just add that to the list that we have created. So we have created this guest list, right? We are trying to add that to the guest list. So guest list dot add. So what is the value that we are getting? We are just adding that to the list that we have created. Okay, and how will we know that we have to rebuild every time? So that will be known by this change notifier. So change notifier gives a one of the property that listen to the notify listeners. So this will help us to rebuild that particular widget when there's a change in a list. Clear? So what I'll do, I have this method, right? Let's try to reuse here. So let's remove this. Instead of using a set state, I'll just remove the completely set state. I'll write context, and what is this text field is, it is not actually storing any actual state, right? It is just doing this action of adding. So in this time, I don't want to watch it, I'll just want to read it. Okay, so difference between a watch and read is this only. If you write a method read, which means that it only executes the action, it does not build it. Now whenever you try to add anything, the text field will be remain same, it won't build or rebuild, only the list will rebuild. Okay, and what we want to do, what kind of type of data we want to do is a guest provider. This is what we want to read. Okay, and particularly we want to add a guest list, and what is the list? That is nothing but what value that we submit. Clear? Okay, so here solves the first problem. Second problem is we want to render this list, right now we don't have guest list, and we are getting that list from, and we want to watch this because every time if there is a change in the list, we want that to be rendered. Okay, and what we want, a guest list nothing but a list here. I hope it is clear. If you have not watched the video of the provider that I have given, make sure you watch that. Okay, we got one more error, and this error is because, see, if you go to this guest list is basically mapping, and it is getting an thing which is an each time, which is a map. And this error is because the one main important thing is, see, when we are using this provider, first we have to create this data where you want to store and where you want to distribute to the widget trees. Second is, you have to make sure this is being provided to the whole screen. How do we do that? It's just wrapping the whole widget or the tree. So like you are basically wrapping the whole widget and you're telling you're giving this data, but we didn't do that. We directly access it. So don't miss this concept where you have to wrap it. So I'll come back to the my state where I'll wrap the widget, that is nothing but a change notifier provider. Okay, and I'll tell what type of data I'm passing. I want a guest provider, so which has a property create. It's just a callback where I have to give I want to pass a main important data, that is a guest provider. What is inside guest provider, I'm giving it. Clear? Then refresh it, then it clears the error. So what you have to do, first you have to keep the data that you want to track of, then come back here, wrap the whole thing and pass the data you want to share that with the widgets, and here access that. Okay, I hope it is clear. So now if I try to type something like, let's start with my name, Likita. Okay, if I click enter, which makes add it to the list, but here the input is not clear. So what we'll do, we'll come back down here, we'll see where we have to do it. Okay, the on text read. Okay, after this we want that controller dot clear to happen, so we'll just add that statement which should clear the input. Yeah, so let's try to add one more name, Rupa. Okay, here we are. The input is acting as we expected, and the only thing it is rendering is this list, so we don't have to worry about anything else. So we have successfully we have converted converted our project from a set states to the provider. So now if you observe, see, our UI and our data is been separated, right? We don't have link for the UI, and we can directly change. We can't directly change. Everything is in control of guest provider. We can make this things private, so you can't able to access it directly from the main dot. Clear? Okay, now data has been it is in the centralized position where it's like in a global. We can distribute data wherever we want. Okay. The next thing is we have to make this local, which means nothing but even if I next time close this app and I come again, I want this data to be there. It should be persistent, right? So what I'll do, I'll just go back to the main screen, and the main important thing, make sure you'll add the Hive. You'll have the add this Hive and also Hive Flutter onto the package, which should add to the dependencies. It should have to dependency also your provider. I hope it is clear. If you have not watched the Hive tutorial, so make sure you watch it. Okay. The next thing we have to do is adding this Hive. So how do we do this Hive? So Hive workflow is super simple. So first, whenever the app loads, we want to make sure that Hive is loaded, right? So Hive is nothing but it's like a box. It is keeping your data. It is usually in the key and value format, or however it is like keeping inside the box. Okay. So if you see where is the first thing that your app start is here. So we have to make sure it should be an async. So let's remove this. I'll show you again. Okay. So what I'll do is, first when the app loads, and usually until the app loads, we want some things to be done. Like example, we want our data to be ready. Example, I gave a beautiful example that whenever you want to study for a long time, you make sure you keep all your things like your books or your textbooks or whatever, like water bottle requirements before when you start, right? So it's like a preparement for your long time of studies. So this exactly what, before the app gets loaded, we want our data to be ready. That is like the old data or the persistent data. So to load that, we are saying, so I want that to be an async. I mean, let the work be at a background, but wait until I get the data. So I'm telling, I want Hive dot initialize the Flutter. Okay, and also make sure the it is like the Hive is like, I mean, everything has been ready before the app starts. So we usually use the widget binding. So this widget binding, what is there? The widget binding is nothing but it is just making sure everything is ensuring it is initialized. It has initialized properly. So it is like, if it is true, then it goes to the next thing. Okay. So once you told your app that we want the old or the, I mean, you're saying that I want the whole data to be loaded. So when the app gets loaded, or the widget gets onloaded, we want that data to be rendered. Okay, this is the first step. The next step is we want to create a box. Usually the box is created. We want to open that box, and whatever the data has been stored have to be placed or given to this provider to display this, right? So the next concept will be done in this guest provider. So here we will tell, so whatever the data we have as for now, it is loaded, I mean it is saved in the database, it will be first added to this, then whatever it will be then updated. How can we do here is, okay, as I told, first it will make sure the data has been loaded. The next, if you come down here, we told that we are wrapping the whole thing with the change notifier. So whenever there's a change in the data, we will rebuild it, right? And we are giving this guest provider, that is nothing but we are basically calling this provider the class, which does nothing but it's pass some kind of data, like whatever the method and property it is giving a direct access to it. So here we are calling it, right? So what we want to do is, whenever you call that class, you're calling this class, right, guest provider, it's like providing all the methods and the property. We are telling right now, whenever you call this method or this class, we want to first show all the existing data, then whatever you add the data will be added to the Hive, the local storage. Okay, so we have to make sure we'll we will import the Hive. We will import Hive. Just make sure we are importing Hive from the dat that we have, the package that we have installed. So what we have to do is, usually if you could see, my whole app has been wrapped by this gesture provider, which is giving or providing us two things. One is an property and another one is a method. So what we want to do is, when we get our app, we want to instead of loading this empty list, we want to fill this guest list with the saved data, or the Persist or the local data that has been already saved. So how can we achieve that is, we can give a, usually this will be, the guest provider will be called, right? So whenever they call, we want to call that constructor. So inside this constructor, what we'll do, we'll pass a function that is called as a load guest list. So let this be the function. So we'll just copy this and make sure you end the statement and come back down, and we want to create a function that is future, which is nothing but, it takes little time, it takes a time to get us back the data that we wanted, and which is an async. Okay, so what is the first thing we want to do is, we want to open the box. We know Hive is nothing but a box that stores our data, right? So let's create a box variable. Let it be box, and it has a method, it has a property of box, the type. Okay, what we'll do is, we will we have to open the box. How do we open the box? We have a method that is hive dot open box, and we have to give a name to that box. Let it be a guest box. Okay, now the next thing what we have to do, since the box has been open, and make sure that box is an await. We have to wait until the box is open. If you don't wait until the box is open, you can't add or get the data, right? You can't go to the next line. So that is why we are awaiting it. So next is, what we have to do is, we have to get the data. Now we have this guest list and empty, right? Instead of empty, we want to make that guest list to be get and some kind of data, like you have to get a, we want a box, not a knife, sorry. We want to get an data from that box, and it takes an key is different, box name is different. So let the key be the guest, and we can give a default value. Let it be an empty array. Now it is an empty array only for fallback, that's all. So what did we just did is, so it will whenever, if you could see here, you're basically wrapping the whole thing in the guest provider, right? So when you call this constructor class, right, the constructor is the first thing it will be executed. So it will call this function, and this function will open the box and get the data and set that to the guest list. If there is any guest list, there will be a names of guest, or else it will be default. And we want to notify if there is any change. If there is a change in the guest list, someone is added or something, we want to keep a notifier. Okay, so that everything changes, we can build it. The next thing, if you could see here, there's an add guest list. Here we are just adding that to the provider. Guest list is nothing but, we are just adding that to the empty list, but we are not adding that to the Hive. That's the problem. So what we'll do, we'll write box dot add, and it will again take the value. And very important, since we are using a keyword, you can't use the box dot add. We can just directly use put. So what we'll do, box dot put, and we want key and a value. The key is nothing but the guest that we already have given here, the key, and we have to pass an value. Here value is nothing but a guest value, guest name, sorry, guest name. If you observe properly, what you want to edit or update is, whenever there's a change, whenever there's an add, some name is added to list, we want to update our list. So it's not guest name, it is guest list, because what we are doing is, we are creating box and we are getting a list of item, and we have to update a list of item in. So instead of that we are trying to update a string. That is wrong, so we have to update a list. And here also, if you could see the guest list, it is expecting list of string, but we are providing the list of dynamic. If I hover over here, we are providing a box of dynamic. So instead of box of dynamic, we have to provide a list of strings. So how can we do is, we have to convert this. So basically what we'll do is, so come back here, just cut this line. So we have to make sure it's a list of string, right? So we'll write list of string and make this as a new iterable which will return a list of string, which can be done with the from keyword, which will create a iterable, and inside this we will return this. So what it will do is, when you want to get a data, you'll get a list of data. Okay, so now it is a list of string. Okay, whenever you want to add a data, instead of adding it a one string, we have to add a list. Okay, so if I just run it again, we'll just go back to the main screen. So in the app, let's try to enter a name. Let me enter my name. Okay, let's click enter and let's go back from the app, or we can just reload it and check if this data is stored locally. The moment when it reloads, we can able to see the data again. See, the even the app is reload, or even if I go back to app also, I can able to see this name. So the data we are basically using, or has been storing, is basically a persist. I mean, you can see that in the locally also. If I go back and come back, you can able to see. So in this video we learned about how can we use Hive and also the provider, that is a state management together. Okay, I hope you understood this video and the video is helpful for you. If any doubts, watch two other videos that I have made on the Hive and also provider. That's all for today's video.